Why is the sub 2:30 marathon such a difficult time barrier to achieve? This was a comment that I recently received on one of my videos. Obviously, it's the faster we're trying to run over this particular distance, the more specific and more technical the training has to become. In my opinion, a sub 3 hour marathon is an elite time. Everybody's going to have their own viewpoint of what elite is. That might mean 240 for some athletes. It might mean sub 210 for other athletes. Maybe for other athletes out there, breaking the sub 205 marathon barrier is an elite time. The reason why I think breaking sub 3 hours is such a specific elite time for athletes is because a small amount of athletes around the world run this fast each year. Breaking sub 230 for the distance, you have to average 5 minutes and 43 seconds per mile, or 3 hours or 3 minutes and 33 seconds per kilometer for 42.2 straight kilometers. So we have to improve the body's lactate tolerance. I always preach the importance of running a higher percentage of your weekly volume at your anaerobic threshold or faster. Okay, when you're running at your anaerobic threshold, you're running around 88 to 92% of your maximum oxygen uptake, your maximum heart rate. Okay, so the more quality volume you're putting in, the better results you're going to get. But you also have to remind yourself that when you're training at higher intensities, we increase more inflammation. Okay, there's more muscular tears, these little things that occur doing these harder anaerobic training workouts out there. When you're doing speed training sessions on the track, you're doing tempo runs, you're doing those harder varied pace long runs that I talk about. You have to remind yourself that if you're not slowing down, if you're still running too fast on those easy recovery days, you're not going to benefit from the hard anaerobic training that you're doing. Okay, so in order to break this, and what makes it so difficult is because it's such a fast, aggressive pace from the get-go. Okay, I mean, again, going out and running 5:43 mile pace for 1 mile, or going out on the track and running at 3:33 kilometer pace for 2.5 laps. Go out there and do just one of those. Okay, now doing that back to back for 26.2 miles at 5:43 mile pace, or 3:33 per kilometer pace for 42 straight kilometers, you understand how difficult this is. So again, my advice is, and what helped me over the years in racing marathons, was studying what the very best marathoners were doing, and studying also what the best endurance coaches teach. Okay, what I learned from, at least from training with some of the world's top distance runners, as well as Olympians, and being on teams with these caliber of athletes, they train at a very, very high intensity, and they do this at a higher percentage of their weekly volume. Okay, the best distance runners are running around 30%, up closer to 40% of their weekly volume at their anaerobic threshold or faster. Okay, so if you're training and you're doing 90% of your weekly volume, and you're trying to run a sub 230 marathon, but you're running 90% of your weekly volume at around like 6:30 mile pace, or around 350 kilometer pace, it's going to be very difficult to handle an athlete that's running 30 to 40% of their weekly volume running at under 5:15 mile pace, or running around 3-minute kilometer pace during their workouts. Again, the faster we run, the more just running easy and relaxed it becomes even more critical. Okay, you have to make sure that, one, you're running high enough volume, but you're also doing enough quality to get the result you're aiming for. Okay, the sub 230 marathon barrier is such a difficult time barrier to break, and other athletes have done it, so why can't you? Okay, if you're lacking talent, you're going to have to make up for it with your work ethic. Okay, I didn't have a lot of talent either. Okay, but I did have work ethic. I was willing to work for several years. Okay, and I did work for basically 2 decades training in this sport, in this particular event as well. So My best advice to you is to be tenacious about what you're going after. Realize that what you're aiming for and breaking the 2:30 marathon barrier is a very select group of runners. There's not many athletes that break the 2:30 marathon barrier each year. 2:29:59 is an elite time. It's very, very tough to do, but the good news is other athletes are doing it. If they can do it, there's no reason why you can't do it. Okay. If you're at 310 right now, or you're at 340 or 330, you have to be dreaming about 2:29:59. Okay. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination. Okay. That's a quote by Billy Mills, the 1964 Olympic gold medalist in the 10,000 meters. That's a very powerful quote. If you're all you're doing in aiming to break this 2:30 marathon barrier is training physically, and you're neglecting mental rehearsal, seeing yourself getting across the finish line with that 2:29:59 on the clock. If all you're doing is just focusing on physical training, you're really only doing 50% of the work. The best runners in the world, the top runners, certainly that I've competed against over the years, and myself, I practice this as well. Focus on both mental rehearsal, spending just 5 to 10 minutes each day, whether that's when you first get up in the morning or when you go to bed at night. You have to be thinking about doing something that you have not done yet in your mind first. You have to see that occur. Okay. It's so powerful. I mean, I don't think that most athletes that are middle distance runners or long distance runners, I don't think we realize how powerful the mind is and how capable we really are. A lot of times, I've seen athletes. I coached an athlete that had a personal best of 3:48 in the marathon. He ran a 2:58. Okay. He dropped 50 minutes off his personal best. And this is an event where you can drop a significant amount of time off of your current personal best. But the faster you're aiming for, especially for a time for sub 30, you have to focus on like I mentioned, higher percentage of your weekly volume, focusing on quality versus quantity. You can be running 120 miles a week. But again, if you're running 90% of that volume at, far too slow, far too aerobic of an effort, and you're only running around 10%, really focusing on that goal sub 2:30 marathon pace, 5:43 mile pace or 3:33 kilometer pace, it's going to be tough to go up against somebody that's running a higher percentage of their weekly volume running sub 5-minute mile pace and sub 3-minute kilometer pace. So I really want you to focus on that. Look at your buildup too. Okay. If you're trying to cram all of your training in an 8-week block of training versus giving yourself ample sufficient time to adapt physiologically to what you're doing as well as mentally, my advice, 20 to 24 weeks. Okay. I have training plans on RunDreamAchieve.com that range anywhere from 8 weeks all the way up to 24 weeks. I always recommend to athletes that really want to get it right. Give yourself 5 to 6 months. Okay. It takes around 28 days for your body to adapt physiologically to what you're throwing at it. So it's like anything else. The more time you give yourself and devote to something, the more successful, the higher percentage of success you're going to have, because again, you're not rushing your fitness. You're not rushing all of your training into a small block of training. And yeah, you can break a sub 2:30 marathon in 8 to 12 weeks. There's certainly other athletes out there who have done it. Okay. But I always stress and emphasize athletes spend about 4 weeks giving yourself, that time to build that slow aerobic fitness first. Strengthen your muscles, strengthen your ligaments, tendons before you start into specific marathon training. Okay. Again, the sub 2:30 marathon barrier is so difficult. In the years that I trained, I only did it twice. And it's, I only had, like I mentioned, I didn't have a great deal of talent, but I had work ethic. So my advice to you is definitely be patient with yourself. Expect the challenges. Expect that you're going to be tested in training. There's going to be times where you're going to have poor races. You're going to have poor workouts. Remember this, even if you have a bad workout, you're still going to get a huge physiological boost from that particular effort. It's the same with your race. If you go out and you run a few 10Ks or you try to run some 10 milers in half marathons as preparatory races, which I certainly believe in. I think that you should be doing that. The faster you can get at the shorter events, the better your chances of breaking this time barrier. Okay. But also expect that it's not always going to go perfect. Sometimes you can do every single thing perfectly in training and aiming for the sub 230 marathon barrier and still not get it right. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of runners on YouTube right now that have YouTube channels that are aiming for this barrier. They're getting real close, 232, 234, maybe they're around 245. I've seen a few that are really popular online. Floberg is an example of that. This gentleman's trying to break 230 and is at 232. He's right there. And again, the amount of work, if you watch Floberg and you watch the amount of work he's putting in, you'll realize how difficult and how tough this barrier is. But you're asking the right questions. Okay, this is a type of video where an athlete that may watch this, just the mindset. Okay, I understand. I've broken it. I've done it. It was not easy. It took me several years to get that under that barrier. It's just that mindset. Hearing from someone that's done it, that's experienced it. My only regret is I didn't start making videos when I first started, when YouTube came out in 2005. I started running in 1992, but I wish I would have started making videos in 2005 when I was still leading into my prime. Okay, my best years of running were in 2007. And I set all my PRs in that particular year. But I also experienced the setbacks and the trials and the those times when I put everything into training and it still didn't go right. You have to be tenacious if you're trying to break a 230 marathon barrier. The fact that you're asking this question already tells me you're going to do it. Okay, how fast you do it really depends on you. And remember, whether it takes 6 months or it takes 6 years, the main focus is you get to that goal. You accomplish what you're aiming for. Don't let up. Okay. I can't stress this enough. If you're patient enough, if you're persistent, if you believe in what you're doing, you're going to achieve what it is you're aiming for. Okay. Anybody that does anything great, it's because they're tenacious. They don't give up. They don't let up. Okay. It's a matter of consistent work over several years and not losing enthusiasm when you lead into those tough times, when you really start to doubt what you're doing. Okay, the most successful people just continue. They don't really know the word quit. Okay, so I hope this video on just my viewpoint of why the sub 230 marathon barrier is so difficult to achieve has been helpful for you. Sometimes it's just hearing from someone that's done it and kind of just hearing the mindset and some of the tactics and strategies that you need to be thinking about. Also, remember, always do what your competition may not be thinking about. Run the tangents in the race. You do not need to run any more distance than you need to in the race. For right-hand turns coming up, you need to be on the right-hand side of the road, not the left-hand side or in the middle of the road. Practice drafting. You don't need to be leading all the time. Sit behind a group of runners and draft off them. Okay, they're going to draft off you as well. Remember, if you make your move in the race, you have to be confident. Okay, there's 2 points in the race, the first 20 miles and the last 10 kilometers. The race starts in the last 10 kilometers. Okay, you got to get to 32K and then the real race starts. Okay, I hope this is helpful for all of you. Feel free to leave me a comment below. I'll reach back out and respond to you. If you have any other questions or concerns, reach out to me. Check out the resources on RunDreamAchieve.com. They're there to help you set a new personal best and help take your training and racing to the next level. Thanks for your support, and I hope this was helpful. Talk to you all in the next video.